Hello, this is Frank Favaro, president and founder of Serve Centric Coaching, and I'm super excited to be sponsoring the Undeniable podcast. When we talk about business today, everyone's looking to create an advantage. But how do you find it? Everything is copied with technology. Innovation is hard to come by. We can find it with customer experience. The experience that you provide to your customers and to your employees determines the value you bring to the marketplace. We will create a plan for you that will get your business to the next level. You can find us at www.serve-centric.com. That's serve centric, serve, S-E-R-V-E -centric, C-E-N-T-R-I-C.com. And you can reach me personally at 330-715-5361. Thank you.
Welcome to Blood Time. I have a phenomenal guest here, brilliant wrestling mind, career, and coach and mentor, as well as master in other martial arts, Wade Schalles. Wade, welcome.
Thank you. So you did get my introduction that I wanted you to read about me, right?
I didn't. I did not.
No, but the introduction you just did.
Okay, great.
I wrote that, the greatness of.
Greatness of, yes, indeed. Brilliant. I love that. Wade, I love the humility, first and foremost, and the interest that I have on your intellect. And of course, you have an amazing resume from a 4-time national champion, twice at Division II, twice Division I, from Clarion, the MVP of those tournaments.
And I would have had 2 more had they allowed me to wrestle my senior year.
I know. And, I have a good friend, Alan Freed, had a very similar situation happen to him because of what happened to Okie State. His junior year, he was undefeated. He would have been a 2-time national champion. So a lot of that stuff has occurred over the years. But what you did is amazing. I mean, from the Clemson roll to the Schalles Cradle to the Spladle, one of my favorite moves of all time, to the interest in pinning 109 of your opponents, I think your junior year or maybe your entire career, and then being the head coach at Clarion, Old Dominion, and a number of other things. But what I loved about your intellect was, let's get to how do we stop a match? Our sport is the only sport that stops, right? Besides boxing. Every other sport's got to be played out. We can stop that. It's 6 minutes in high school. You could stop that in the first 10 seconds by what you do and what your expertise is. So I want to turn that over to you and tell me a little bit about that thought process and what you brought to the sport. So Wade, please share.
When I first started wrestling, I started looking at the options we had, stance motion, level change, penetration, then they teach you stand up on the bottom and so on. But I looked at baseball. I mean, you can hit a single and go to first base. You might get thrown out. You may get there in time. Then you have to make it to second. Then you have to make it to third. Then you have to make it to home. And you have 4 chances of getting thrown out, or 3 chances. And you have to run the whole time. But, why don't we just practice swinging for the fence, and then you can walk around, instead of run, and you still get the point, and it's a hell of a lot easier. And to swing hard or to swing to place the ball, over the shortstop's head in the right center, it's the same skill. You might as well learn to swing for the fence.
Sure.
In wrestling, pitting, they give you 6 points for that. You get 3 for a decision.
Right.
But it's the same amount of energy. It's the same amount of time taught and technique learned.
Yeah.
By learning a throwdown, when I can learn to sit down and have a drink and watch the rest of the match and not have my hair all messed up and perspiration. It made no sense to me. And so I spent, of course, I had a few discussions with my earlier coaches when I was wet behind the ears. I probably still am to some degree, telling me that I didn't know what I was talking about. They were the coach. They had the title. They were responsible to teach wrestling. And I said, well, back then, they wanted you, you didn't get called for stalling near as much, so you pick up an ankle and ride the hell out of it.
Yeah, deep weight ankle, sure. Yeah.
And And they always say, get back there, get on his ankle, wait. Why? I mean, I was a pain in the ass as a wrestler because I would ask why. I wasn't trying to be a smart ass, but I wanted to ask why. I said, the size of his buttocks and the size of his thighs and versus the size of his neck or his biceps, and looking at my arms, excuse me, I was more the skinnier wrestler. I wasn't the short, stocky, gorilla.
Right.
Why do I want to go back there and screw around with that buttocks and thighs when I can get up on his head? If I'm up on his head, that's where the blood goes to the brain and makes him think. The oxygen goes to his lungs and makes him move. If I can cut that off, or it's severely handicap it, and I'm dealing with biceps versus thighs, I don't understand why the hell I'm supposed to be back on the legs. And because I said so. Well, I said so. I respect that, coach, but that's a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I would get up on the head, get back on his ankle. No, I'm not getting back there. And when their face was in the dust and they couldn't breathe and they couldn't see, it was really hard for them to wrestle. So, I started with matches, and the coaches started thinking, well, maybe this youngster has some points to make that made sense.
Sure.
So everything that I was trying to do, I would sit down logically. I know the biomechanics of the human body. I know which way the joints bend. I know the understanding of breathing and the flow of blood. And if I can slow that down and cut off your air a little bit legally, with a little discomfort though. It made a lot of sense to me. What happened is when you challenge coaches today, a lot of coaches are still doing the same thing that their coaches taught them.
No doubt.
And that's what their coaches taught them. This make-believe story that I tell people, which hits home, I think. Well, way back in 1872, there was this football coach in New England that didn't know anything about wrestling, and the AD said, "Hey, I'm thinking about starting a wrestling program. Why don't you be my wrestling coach?" And the football coach says, "Well, fuck, I don't know anything about wrestling, And he said, you tackle people in football, so we'll call that a double leg. You grab both legs, so you're already well on your way to be a wrestling coach. Exactly, yes. I'll give you $500. Well, okay. So he goes out, he doesn't, there's no videos to look at, there's no books to read, there's no coaches he can go, take Jim, call me, tell me what the hell I'm supposed to be doing here. He had to make everything up, so he did.
Yeah.
And he had 10 wrestlers, and those 10 wrestlers eventually graduated. They went out and started wrestling programs, and they had 10 wrestlers. So then instead of 10 wrestlers, they had 100 wrestlers. Then those 100 did the same thing, and before long, we are where we are today.
Yeah.
And now, you say, Coach, when you challenge him, where'd you learn this? Well, my coach taught me that, and he's really offended that you challenge a quality coach or ask him a question. And I said, well, where did that coach learn it? Well, he learned it from his coach. Well, he learned it from his coach. And, if you go farther enough back, you go back to the football coach. He didn't know a damn thing about wrestling. It made it all up. And we've been doing the same shit for the last 150 years. That's all made up. And without thought to, why are we doing that?
Yes.
So, I sensed that. I didn't have that, that clear thought process when I was, starting out in 8th grade, 9th grade in wrestling, because then they didn't have elementary programs.
Right.
And so, you take a look at the techniques. I think I lost you right there, picture-wise, but I'll just mention that.
Gotcha. I got you.
Wrestling is, there's nobody knows more wrestling than I do. They can show a technique, but they can't tell you why they're showing that technique. It's breaking out the angles of the body. I created I put a clock on the mat. I did that when I was at Clemson. The starting circle, I put the number 12 at one point, and 6 and 3 and 9 and so on. And I said, okay, now when a guy's on the mat, the bottom guy's head always points at 12. So the clock will move. Now in this case, it's not because I got it painted on the mat, but let's get out of referee's position, and the bottom guy's head's pointing at 12. And I said, now he has 4 major appendages, 2 arms, 2 legs. The right arm is responsible for anything that happens between 12 o'clock and 3 o'clock. Those 3 hours, my right hand's responsible. Left hand is from 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock. Right leg, 3 to 6, 6 to 9 for my left leg. So anything that happens, I have 4 major appendages anyhow.
Right.
designed for that. So if I'm a guy over, they say cross-face crotch, drive. Everyone drives at 9 o'clock when you have a cross-face and crotch. I'm going, no. I have his left arm, which is 9 to 12, so I got the 9 o'clock trapped with a crossface. Well, I don't have his left leg. So he's going to put his left leg out at 9 o'clock and say, screw you, I'm not falling over, because you're not controlling that. You always go off hours. If you have the right arm control, you always go halfway between the times that you have control. If you have 9 to 12 controlled, halfway between that is 10:30. So it's crotch, you drive at 10:30. No other time on the clock, because you controlled that arm, he'll fall over and roll his back, or certainly you flatten him out. Yeah. So it's when you chop tight waist, you chop the right arm if you're riding the right side, and you chop him at 1:30. You don't chop him at 12. Why not at 12? Well, I got his left arm. His left arm's responsible for 12 o'clock, but so's his right arm, so's his left. I don't have his arm trapped. I'm chopping his right. You drive at 12, you will get him down.
Right.
Because so once you understand the angles, and when your guy's in referee's position, everything he's been taught to do in the bottom starts when I have my hands and my legs. You could draw a square, basically numbers between my hands and my feet, and you form a square. Now that square is his offensive square. As long as he's in that square, you're going to have a hell of a time holding on to him. Right. The very first move that you do when you try to knock him down, stop his first move, is you got to get him the hell outside of that square. The very first move is blast into him with your legs, your hips.
Yes.
Outside of that square, or you chop and take him the other way, or you spiral ride and you drive, whatever it is, wherever that square is. When the referee says start, you get damn well. First move has got to be get him out of that square. Yeah, wherever you pick up an angle, drive him forward, that takes him out. Chop him over to the side, get him out of that square. If you just hang on and show him how strong you are, he's going to get out because you haven't moved him outside that square.
Exactly.
So little things that and then elementary kids go, I understand that.
Yeah.
You're well on your way to winning.
Yes.
Basically, wrestling is learning how to fix your holes. Every time you wrestle, you're going to find a hole in your wrestling.
Of course, yeah.
And then sometimes you'll lose because you found the hole.
Yeah. Well, you fail forward. You lose. You figure out what not to do. Or work on your weaknesses. And I love what you said about baseball, Wade, because that's where everything is at today. Back in the day, Dave Kingman and Rob Deere were laughed at because they struck out so much, but they hit a lot of home runs. And that's why they had a career back in the day, but everybody made fun of them. Today, everybody is swinging for that elevation to get out of the ballpark. And so
what baseball player had, this goes back 20 or 30 years where I first saw this statistic. It may be changed today, but back when it was, I was looking when I was coming up with these thoughts in wrestling, what baseball player had more strikeouts than anybody else?
Oh, probably Babe Ruth or Mickey Mantle or something like that.
Babe Ruth.
Yeah.
But he also put it out of the park more than anybody else, and he's known for that. I'm known for pinning.
Yep.
They're like, no, pin everybody? No, but they were worried about what I could do.
Absolutely.
There's pinners, and then there are people who pin.
Right.
Heavyweight. Most heavyweights who have a lot of pins are not pinners, but they know how to pin. A heavyweight hits his back once. He doesn't get back off. Yeah. It's usually a half Nelson or he fell his back and the match ended. Right. That's not true of a lot of athletes we had. We had the Luke Bannings and the Gabe Stevenson today. Oh my God, see something special. Sure. Some really good ones. But
Kerry McCoy, some of these Tommy Rowland, some of these really athletic guys that won it. Sure.
Gene Mills, he was a pinner. He went for the pin, he drove for the pin, and he was very successful. Askren was very successful. He was a pinner. There are some people, Gable, and I love the man. I think he's the best one we've ever had. He was someone who pinned people. He wasn't a pinner. He would run you out of gas, and when you couldn't breathe anymore, he rolled you over and pinned you. Now, that wasn't necessarily did he do cradles. He had a bar arm. I don't think I remember ever seeing Dan do a half Nelson or a cradle or a headlock.
Well, they used to call it put in the gable, right?
Put an arm on, roll you over, and when you couldn't breathe, you couldn't see, you couldn't hear, he put shoulders down. He had his own skill set that was all the great, well, not all the great, the really ones that I think I have a different opinion of what great is. And, Flo did a top 100 greatest.
Yeah, I love that. I love your response to that. I read that response you had.
Yeah. I think they picked the most accomplished top 100.
Right.
In that group, 28 of the 100, and there were really not 100. I think there were 12 females in there. I think there were 88 males.
Yeah.
The 88 males, 28 of them didn't win the NCAAs. And I can tell me that, if you can't win the NCAAs, you don't fall into the greatest of all time. You're out of it. I mean, that doesn't make sense at all.
Especially folk style is such a brutal sport. I mean,
and just to relate on someone, there was, in '84 we had a few Olympic champions that probably wouldn't be Olympic champions on any other year because
no doubt,
communist countries and Russia didn't show up. They were boycotting the Olympics. So we have a few cheap Olympians there. It's difficult to put all that together, but the great to me are people, when you talk about pinners are someone who can, have more than one skill set. They can pin, and no one pinned in so many different positions than I did. I could sit on a chest, and I have, and pin people, headlocks, cradles. Now people, Schalles cradle, I've been known for cradles, and you take all the pinning combinations known to man, and you put them in a big pile over here, and you separate all the cradles from all the other pinning combinations. The pile over here with cradles is larger than all the other pinning combinations.
Together, right.
So if you're going to learn something about, if you decide you want to learn pinning, I would recommend cradles because you can do them when you're being controlled. You can cradle from the bottom. You can't have Nelson when you're on the bottom.
Nope.
You can cradle when you're on top, obviously, from various positions. You can cradle from standing.
Yes.
What position you're in, top, bottom, or neutral, there's a cradle available to you. And cradles are the deadliest of all the pinning combinations. No. When was the last time you saw the referee go, whoa, no, it's potentially dangerous, stop. Bar arm, half the time, any good bar arm gets stopped for stall or for potentially dangerous.
Right.
Half Nelson's not so much. Cradles, never do you see a potentially dangerous. So I'm going to do something that gives me the best chance for pinning, without getting it stopped by the referee. And if he can't put his feet on the mat bridge or put his feet on the mat and kick and slide out of bounds in a speed of air, chances are he's laying on one thing, shoulder blades. That's not a bad thing.
Right, exactly. With that, Wade, I love this. We got to take a little break, and we'll be right back with Wade Schalles, the brilliance of the cradle, but also the brilliance of his wrestling mind. It's Coach Cimoroni from Undeniable and Blood Time. We'll be right back.
Infinite Search Solutions, recruitment and placement search services at its finest. Northeast Ohio's premier, easy, fast, and simple way to find the great and perfect candidate that you deserve. Matt Burns and his incredible team at Infinite Search Solutions are terrific. We are proud to have them as a sponsor. Reach out to Matt at 440-249-0485 or at their website, www.finite.com.
And we're back with Wade Schalles. This is Coach Cimoroni with Blood Time. Wade, tell me, in Blood Time, you obviously inspired a lot of people in the right way, as opposed to the football coach in 1872, and just progressing that primitive Neanderthal mentality. Typically, Blood Time is somebody who inspired you. I don't know if you had that inspiration, but I'm sure you've inspired a lot of progressive, evolved coaches. I coached differently during the pandemic. It taught me not to teach moves, to teach, just let the kids wrestle their match, have fun, And they got good quick because we didn't go over 20 different takedowns and pins and all. Just if you liked, matter of fact, my captain was called Captain Cradle. That was his nickname because he won 29 matches and 20 guys he pinned with a cradle, and he had a blast doing it his senior year. Another guy was a surfboard guy. He loved the surfboard, and we called him Sammy Surfboard. So, and I didn't teach him anything else, so we had to evolve. So tell me a little bit about that mentality. Was there anybody that inspired you, or was there people that you inspired that went on and then proliferated your mentality?
Well, again, I remember when old guys would say things like this when I was 22, I go, oh, geez. But now I'm going to say, wow, when I was young,
Yeah.
We didn't have there were no technique books, basically. There was no video out there, and you had to rely on your coach. And he, most of the time had no background himself, and he was winging it. And so you had to wing it. That's where I started thinking about wrestling. And I've always had a creative mind that never shuts down. I have a hard time sleeping at night.
Gotcha.
Sport and try to analyze where we are and where we're going. And I just keep shaking my head. We have a rules committee that I have to think mean well. And they, when Bob, my old college coach from Clarion, was on the head of the rules committee, he'd say, wait, my job is to do the rules, not to market the sport. I don't have to worry about anything except take care of the rules and the safety of the athlete. And I said, well, you're right. That's what the definition of the rules committee is, but there's nothing else out there. And you, as the rules committee, won't allow anything else to be out there, like a marketing committee, because that would be some of your power. You're not going to let that happen, because you're not. So if you're going to be the rules committee and you're not going to allow anything else to happen, then you have to take on the responsibility of marketing. We can't be where we are 150 years into our sport, and you can sit in any gym in America, anywhere you want, for any dual meet, except at Iowa and Penn State, because there's no fans. Why there's no fans? Because no one's thinking about marketing. No one's thinking about making the rules that make sense for the spectator.
Big time.
And I'm not pushing this, back in, Julius Caesar's day in the Colosseum. I'm not, thumbs up, thumbs down. I'm not kind of pushing that. But they didn't worry about the rules with the Colosseum. They worried about the people in stands where,
Got it. And that was a very popular thing. No question. Yeah.
And, and Penn State and Iowa are the ones that are doing it right now. But people have to understand that even at Penn State or Iowa, they're losing money. They spend more money than they bring in. And so does every program in America. Coaches, fans, pay attention here. With the economy going the way it is, south, not north, and the regional training centers spending money that the schools are not getting now, and the what's it called, the money that's going to the football, they're bribing. What's it called? They're bribing kids to come.
The new.
Anyhow. Yeah. They're answering the question. They're listening to this video. They already know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Money is going the wrong way, and the ADs are under a great deal of pressure. They're probably the highest divorce rate of any group in America, pulling their hair out, trying to figure out how they're going to make money or break even, and the schools are losing money, except for the top 20. I mean, Ohio State's don't have to worry, and Penn State's and Clemson's and Alabama. Yeah. But everybody else does. And sooner or later, we're going to go the way of boxing, because we have the lowest academic average of the male sports. That doesn't help us at all. We probably are the greatest problem children. There hasn't been a good 125-pounder that hasn't turned down a fight in a bar, on Saturday night after a wrestling match when the football tackle wants his seat and tries to push him off the seat in the bar. The little 125-pounder, and there's going to be a battle here. And it's usually on Monday, it's in the dean's office. It's the football player with two black eyes. And the little 25-pounder sitting there going, yeah. But anyhow, you can't have these social problems. You can't have these academic problems. You can't be spending all the money and bringing nothing in and spitting snuff into the water fountain in the athletic department and having a dirty sauna because it's only the wrestlers who use that. So when the AD wants to get down and use it over his lunch break, he gets in there and people are spitting on the floor. And, it's not good optics. Now, he'll put up with all that. Football is worse than we are in a lot of those areas. However, they're bringing money in. So the AD will put up with that. They won't put
lots of money in.
If they're not paying attention and we don't have a marketing program going on, work somewhere along the line, all of a sudden, everything's going to collapse. And we're going to say, what the hell happened? Well, I'm telling you what the hell's going to happen. We need to get our shit together here with marketing. We need to take care of the fans. We need to bring them in. And you can't do that. My latest article is on seating.
Yeah.
You need 33 people out of 33 weight class at the NCAAs. No. You separate them. What happens is when you have seating, and I agree with seating, I think the top four should be separated in their own quarter bracket. And that's probably fair, reasonable, but I could even vote against that. What happens when you have all of them seated, that's designed on the quarters and the semis on Friday to have the best matches. But when you have 8 matches going in the quarters, and they're all great matches, and you only have 2 sets of eyes, or 1 set of eyes, 2 eyes, you can only watch 1 match at a time. So you're cheating your fans out of 7 really good matches that they can't watch because they're focusing on another match. We've got to separate the quality matches. That's, I could hear all the coach. That's not fair. The kids, I don't care about you, coach. I don't care about the kids. Cream will rise to the top, and every kid in this tournament gets 2 opportunities to be an All-American. All that means, if you don't have seeding, all that means is you may lose in the second round instead of the third round, or you may make it to the third round instead of the second round because you didn't have any seeded. But you're going to have some great matches in round number 1 on Thursday, round number 2 Thursday night. And the NCAA are selling now, not individual tickets. They will not sell individual tickets. They're going to sell season tickets. You have to buy all 6 session tickets in one $350 or whatever the heck it is. And people want, I don't even want to go Thursday because it's so boring. Now, there's 1 or 2 Donnybrook on Friday or Thursday, but for the most part, there's not really good matches. We're getting rid of the cannon fighter on Thursday.
90% of the matches are exactly that. Quick period pins, whatever. Tech falls, whatever. Yeah.
Take care of the fans. They're the ones that pay the freight. They're the ones that keep the sport going. That keep coaches. Don't you want? If you could fill the gyms because you alter your thought process, your salary is going to be triple. Now you're making $80,000 a year in an average college in America as a full-time coach. And if you don't understand this, ask your wife. She'll explain it to you. Would you rather have 80 or 240? Well, 240. Duh. Well, then get your shit together and let's start marketing wrestling so we can fill the stands. Why not let an athlete wrestle more than 1 weight class? In what sport? Tom Brady, LeBron James, basketball. He's going to play 1.5 minutes of the first quarter in this game, and then we're going to set him the rest of the evening. Yeah. Huh? What? They come to see LeBron. They come to see Tom Brady. They come to see Mahomes. They don't.
Well, and to your point, LeBron plays 4 different positions during that game, right? He'll be a point guard. He'll be a shooting guard. He'll be a small forward. He may even be the center. He's probably not going to be the power forward, and that's about it.
Yeah. So what we're doing is we're taking, Schalles goes out and pins. Everybody come to watch weight. So I go out and pin. Okay, now they're, twiddling their thumbs.
Yeah.
Why can't I go out for a second time? Why can't I go back on the mat in the next weight class?
Yep. Love it.
Well, that's too much for you, Wade, or too much for our athletes. Are you freaking kidding me?
Right.
Coach. In your wrestling room, every day you have the kids wrestle back to back to back to back to back, 5 matches in a row without a break because they have to get tough. Have any of them dropped over dead in the last 20, 80 years? No. If football can go for 2 hours and basketball can go for 2 hours, and you say wrestling is the toughest sport there is out there, but we're so sensitive, we can only go a maximum of 7 minutes or maybe 8 or whatever if we have an overtime. Wow, we have to worry about the safety of our athletes. Or shit. They're tough. Put them back in. I want Schalles in. I want Randy Lewis. I want, McElravy. I want Gene Stevens.
And premier matches, right? Premier matches. So you could have that, right? You could have your duel, and then at the end or in the middle, have that premier match. And them up, you know.
And you can have a rule that if you have a forfeit in any of the weights, the weight class right before that has to go out and wrestle the second match. So now
keep going.
If you go to the movies, and in the middle of the movie, the projectionist decides to take 20 minutes out of the middle of the movie, do you complain? You bet your booty you do. You know, you're
going crazy. Yeah.
You go crazy. They don't take a quarter off the football field. We're going to play 3 quarters instead of 4. You know, we're going to play, you know, so many minutes versus basketball. Well, in wrestling, we tell our fans, come, give us your $10 for your ticket to come in. And I think that's a contract for 10 matches in the collegiate side. 10 matches, $10. Well, when you go in there and you find you had an entry default and a buy, and you're only getting 8, that's like going to a restaurant and saying, okay, you ordered a dozen oysters. I'm going to serve you 9, but I'm going to charge you for 12. Whoa, time out. What do you mean? Well, no. I ordered 12. I want 12 on my plate, or you're adjusting the price. We don't adjust the price. We just give the middle finger to our fans. We'll do what we want, and to hell with you. Well, slowly they're saying, well, the hell with you, watch this. And they're not coming.
Yeah, and it, you know, it's confusing to the just the general fan. And also, too, the points make no sense. You know, I was talking to Rick Solovsky. I don't know if you know Rick or not.
Oh, no, very well.
Yeah, Ricky was talking about, you know, his point system. Made a lot of sense to me. So the more points, the more excitement. You know, the less confusion, the more engagement from the just the average, you know, fan that's out there looking at other sports, because there's so many choices, right?
And I think Rick told you where he got that idea from. I think he mentioned that.
Absolutely, you did. Absolutely.
If I was king for a day and I could change one rule, only one, and that's all I want to do, it's the point earned, it's the point scored.
Right.
The match ended 6-2. The team who had 6 gets 16 points. The guy who had 2 gets 2 points. It's like free other sport. Why are we confusing our fans in jeopardy at night? If they would ask questions that nobody could answer in home, sitting at the couch, they would stop watching Jeopardy. Exactly. I can answer about half of them. Absolutely. You know, Shakespeare, I have no idea. But you know, you can't insult the fans.
Yeah, and we constantly
expect them to come back.
Exactly.
So it's 8-2, 18 points, 2 points. Da-da. Now you're cheering like hell. That last minute, if it's 8-2 and there's a minute to go, the guy on H is laying on top of the guy with 2, and the guy on the bottom says, "Screw it, I can't win no matter what." You know, I mean, I'm not going to score 8-9 points in this guy to overtake the score. I'm just laying here. The fans are talking among themselves. What are they going to do? What bar are they going to go to afterwards? Or they're going to the bathroom or going to get a Coke for their wife. You know, they're not watching the match. If it's the last minute of a match, the last minute of a basketball game, the last minute of the football game should be the most exciting. And instead, it's the most boring.
Yes.
You know, rules committee, pay attention. What are you doing?
Yes, exactly right.
So, you know, if it's 8-2, everyone should be screaming, get out, get off the bottom. That 1 point might make the difference in the dual meet.
Yes.
It doesn't make the difference in that match, but they're still screaming. His teammates are screaming. His coach is threatening him with his life. You know, get off the bottom, let's go. You know, and if they lose a match by 126-125, and, you know, and 2 kids could have got off the bottom, they'd have won the match. So,
and you make everybody a hero, right? Or everybody, you know, everybody means something. Everybody has a role on the sport, and that's a beautiful thing. You know,
is that first or second grade logic? I'm sorry, it has to be elementary. So, why don't our coaches and our rules committee see that? Are you telling me that they're intellectually deficient? They're acting like it. You know, I'm in charge. I don't know. They're trying to layer a rule on top of rule every year. The rule book goes from 78 pages to 82 to 84 to 87. It gets thicker because they keep on layering rule on top of rule. And you take a first-year fan coming in for the first time going, what's going on? He spends more time elbowing the guy next to him. When the referee does this, what does it mean? When he does this, what does it mean? He doesn't understand anything. You made him feel like an idiot, so he's I'm not coming back. You know, you can't make your fans feel like idiots. The UFC started 25 years ago, and they're a multi-billion-dollar industry. Boxing doesn't even exist anymore, basically, because of the UFC. Yeah. And we keep and UFC, the base behind all the technique in UFC is wrestling.
It's our sport. It's our sport. Absolutely.
We've been doing this 150 years, and we can't get people to buy it. We don't even open the concession stands and have someone buy a hot dog and a Coke.
Well, my suggestion, Wade, is that you and I start a new type of wrestling, and we have our own rules. That said, I love your intellect. I love it. I could talk to you for a long time, and I want to do this again. And I want to actually talk to you off air about doing maybe a 3 or 4 part series, because this is just brilliant. So I want you to, I got to wrap it up.
What is it? Adventurous thinking.
I love it. I want to wrap this up, and I want you to leave our audience with just one Wade Schalles gem of intellect, if you could.
Well, my son, when he was coming up through school, we taught him that it was okay to color outside of the lines.
Absolutely.
When he would do things, and then we go to the student teacher, the conference with the teacher, it would Jake, look at the pictures here. Is there something wrong with Jake? He can't get into the lines. We said, well, we told him he doesn't have to color inside the lines. You can think outside of the box. You can color outside of the lines.
Right.
It's that type of thinking that you have to question everything that we do today. Talk about questioning the government and what the hell they're doing. They're tearing America apart. Democrats and Republicans. They want to be full control, and everybody below be lemmings. And yes, sir, we bow down to your greatness. And they're doing a really good job exponentially in the last year or two, wanting to have the blue and gray instead of now it's red and blue fighting each other. It would get the guns out, and then the government's going to come in and say, we can save you. We know better. And then we go, okay.
I just saw a great post, and it was George Orwell said, I wish I was wrong. So,
well, sharks can't stop swimming, and you shouldn't stop thinking.
Absolutely. I love that. Bingo. Wade, love you, man. Love what you've done. Love what you're doing. Keep doing it. And I want to do another interview, maybe 2 more with you, because I just love this interview, and I appreciate you. And thank you so much for your generosity of your intellect and your compassion for our sport.
Well, you're very kind. And, your opening remarks, it was, that was the second best opening I've ever had. And I want to thank you for that. The best opening we had was a couple of weeks ago. I was in Oklahoma doing a clinic, and the guy was supposed to introduce me, failed to show up, and I had to introduce myself. That was the best one.
That's better. Bingo. Love you, my man. I'll be back in touch. Thank you so much. This is Coach Cimarroni for Blood Time. We had Wade Schalles. Love to all. We are all blood.
Thank you, sir.
I just love the mission at Edwin's. My friend Brandon Krastowski at Edwin's Leadership and Restaurant Institute brings a unique approach at giving formerly incarcerated adults a foundation in the hospitality industry. What a marvelous mission. Thank you, Brandon, for bringing these wonderful people back into productive society. Every human being, regardless of their past, has the right to a fair and equal future. Give them a try, because their food is magnificent. Their service is first rate, and Brandon is a true Cleveland light. EdwinsRestaurant.org. We love you.